Are you thinking about buying a home in the Houston market right now, but not quite sure if right now is the best time for you? In this video, we're going to break down all the factors that is contributing to this market right now in hopes of helping you decide whether or not buying is the right decision for you. And to get started with that, we got to figure out everything that kind of happened in the past to get us to where we are right now. So let's take a trip down memory lane. But first, let me introduce myself. Hi, my name is Aaron. I'm a real estate consultant, and every week I'm helping buyers relocate to and throughout the greater city of Houston and the surrounding suburbs. So if you need to know anything about where to eat, sleep, live, play, hit me up morning, noon, or night. I'm your guy. It doesn't matter if you're a day, a week, a month, a year, 2 years out. I would love to be a resource to you for your buying in and around the greater city of Houston and the surrounding suburbs. So how did we get here? Right? If you've been watching anything over the last 2 to 2.5 years, how did we get to this point where the inventory and everything is so crazy? You know, we got all these buying bid wars that are going on throughout the greater city of Houston and the surrounding suburbs. How did we get here to this point right now? And the first easy answer is we got hit with a virus that no one could have seen coming, other than the conspiracy theories from those old Bill Gates interviews, right? So no one else would have seen this coming. And that virus really just did something to not only Texas, but the world, right? The world is still feeling the effects of living with that thing, and we're still trying to piece everything together. But there was a ripple effect because of it. A lot of builders use the same handful of manufacturers. So there are basic brick, tile, flooring, drywall manufacturers for basically all materials that go into a home. The plants are basically the same across the country, especially for a lot of these big builders like your D.R. Horton and some of these nationwide builders. You basically use the same handful of people. And because of what was going on in the world at large and social distancing and the requirements set out by local and national governments going worldwide, right? A lot of these plants were forced to shut down and did not have the ability to operate in the way in which they once did prior to all of this stuff starting. So because we had so many factories that had shut down or were on reduced labor, so you couldn't get the same production, as well as an increase in lumber prices, that combination with a buying frenzy of now people that could work remote and could not be forced to go into the office, or could be in a completely different state and move somewhere with lower taxes and keep their same salary. Because all of those things could occur, it was this perfect storm to leave the market where Texas has been for the last 2+ years now, which is under 2 months of inventory in the greater Houston metro. And I can remember vividly when this thing first started. My baby was just born, and Houston was basically shut down the day my baby was born. We couldn't have visitors to the hospital. It was just me, this newborn baby, and my wife. No one had hand sanitizer. There was just so much stuff. People were going crazy over toilet paper. I still don't know what that was about, right? But it was just a crazy time back then. And at the same time, I can remember having all of my friends that were saying that they had work stoppages where they basically had 2 or 3 weeks off. There was a point in time here where you couldn't even do open houses here in the greater Houston market. You had to do it virtually. You couldn't do so many things that you could once do, right? The world was just at a standstill. And so because of all of those factors, because we are at 2 months of inventory, we have had the most buyer interest and buyer activity that I would say that this nation has probably ever seen for buying a house in today's time. Because it's just simple supply and demand. We have a really low supply and we have a really high demand. Because that has happened, the values that you're seeing in places that are growing, especially around Texas. So your Houston, your Dallas, your Austin, any of these places that are growing at the rate that they're growing, you're going to have these what feel to be meteoric home values. And so I can vividly remember clients that I had 2 years ago that didn't end up pulling the trigger and buying a house in new construction where they could get over 2,000 square feet at $275. You fast forward right now, and that same house is probably about $400,000 in many markets around the greater Houston metro. And these are some of the more affordable places that used to be go-tos for a lot of my clients that still wanted new construction homes. Those same homes are over $100,000 more expensive than they were 2 to 2.5 years ago. When you look over at the resale side, again, because the inventory is so low, you're seeing competing bids on pretty much every house. If the house looks good and is priced right, chances are the chances of it going for at least the list price or above are, I would say, probably 9 out of 10. Now, things have cooled a little bit, but you're still going to be very competitive for a house that looks good, that is fresh to the market, that is priced right. It's still going to be fairly competitive in the greater Houston metro. So to put everything into perspective, we have had around 2 months of inventory or less for the last 2 years and some change. For a normal market to be there, you need probably about 5 or so months of inventory in the greater Houston metro to say that we are in a normal market that is balanced. And so looking at the numbers, we're about halfway there, actually less than halfway there. So as long as that number is as far away as it is from 5 months of inventory, there's kind of always going to be some level of competition that is a little bit more aggressive than most people would care to be a part of. But the numbers are what they are. We just don't have the inventory to go around for everybody that wants to be in certain neighborhoods at certain price points in certain locations, right? We just don't have the inventory right now. But I don't want you to be I don't want you to be afraid, because things have changed and you can see the small changes on my end as someone that is in this game day in and day out. I see the changes that have happened over the last 6 months here. There's at one point in time where a brand new listing would go out into the market and the listing agent would just have the gall to tell you, best and final in 2 days from now. I don't care what you're saying, right? There was a certain level of rudeness that the listing side could have, because they knew that they were going to put something out there and they were going to get 50 offers, right? Most of them are going to be cash offers or something crazy, or somebody was going to go 20, 30, 40, $50,000 over ask, right? They knew that if they had a good product and they put it out there, pretty much any price, or the market was going to give them that number or better. And the data that has just recently come in is just that there was a huge amount of cancellations of contracts. There's been huge numbers of price drops. There's been a lot of changes that have been, it's not a buyer's market by any means, but it is definitely cooling to where it's less competitive in some instances. So instead of there being 30 offers, and that's no exaggeration, I've been in a few where I've lost and we were up against 30 plus offers, right? So instead of being in a market where there's 30 offers right now, you may only be competing with 5 to 7. So your odds are a little bit better just on a day in and day out basis if you're trying to buy a resale right now. And on the new construction side, they're basically just throwing money at you. They want to lock in your rate. They want to give you money towards upgrades. They want to give you money towards closing costs. They're throwing money at you right now in the new construction game, because their property taxes are higher, and the cost of building is higher. To counteract that, they're trying to do everything they can to get you to come back to the new construction market, where 6 months ago you were probably on a wait list to even talk to them about a house that was being built, right? So we can definitely see things have changed in the greater market of Houston. And so who does this help? This helps buyers and sellers. For the homeowners that are realistic, that still have a great home, that still want to sell in this market, your numbers are still historic. You're still going to get a competitive environment for your house and for your listing. You're still likely going to sell for 97% of list value and above. The numbers are what they are, and they are still favorable for a homeowner looking to sell a home right now. And on the buyer side, you're starting to see things like contingencies for inspections come back. You're not being forced to throw out an appraisal clause out there where you're forced to cover that appraisal gap and bid way over, right? The numbers are kind of getting to a point where they're meeting in the middle and they're being more realistic, where a seller that has a nice product that is priced right can still find multiple buyers that are willing to pay and be realistic. And the buyer is saying, hey, that's cool and all, but I have options out here right now. I can go to new construction at this price point. I can go around the corner if you're not going to give me that inspection, if you're not going to give me that appraisal back out. And the two are still meeting in the middle, and the numbers are what they are to show a more favorable market for buyers, but still being a seller's market. And how do you take advantage of this? You know, reach out to your real estate consultant, be connected with all these lenders out here and some of these builders, if you're into the new construction, that are doing these amazing rate locks and these incentives to help you keep as much money in your pocket as possible. There's tons of builders out there right now that are doing no money down, no closing costs down in some of these brand new communities. There's lenders that are doing a similar thing with long rate locks. There's so many incentives and things because we are where we are in this space where the real estate industry wants to keep things going, and they're throwing out whatever tricks they have to get you in the door, especially in the new construction side. And on the resale side, homeowners are being favorable. You're starting to see them pay for warranties again. You're starting to see them give extensions for option period. You're starting to see them reduce the ridiculousness of how long they needed a lease back. You're seeing a much more realistic seller in today's market. And because of that, I think it is a great time to buy. So what do you think? Did I give you faith that right now is a great time to buy in this market? I hope that I did. I hope that I didn't scare you away. If you have any questions at all, feel free to hit the description box below. I'll drop my number on the screen right now. I look forward to hearing from you, and I hope you have an amazing day.